Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Justin Sarachik, editor-in-chief of Rapzilla.com, and I'm here for another episode of Community During Chaos, episode 11. And we are joined tonight by Erinn Knight, Crum, and Derek Miner. Here we go. We are going live with Erinn right now.
What's up, Justin?
What up? Everybody, this is Erinn Knight, the Erinn Effect.
Hey, the
In the
internet.
building.
Yes.
In the building, through the internet, on Instagram. So for everybody tuning in, this is Community During Chaos. This is week 11. So after tonight, I would have spoken to 33 different people about impacting their communities, what they're doing to be leaders, and just coming up with solutions and answers to problems that's going on in the world right now. Because right now, the world is kind of chaotic.
For sure.
So, Erinn, thank you for taking the time, stepping away from a music video.
Most def. Anything for you, Justin. You a real one. I really rock with you.
Okay, I'll take that. I tip my cap. So let me ask you, because now we're gonna do some serious talks. So I know that the past few months definitely have been hard for a lot of people. I know it's been hard for you just following you and seeing things that you've posted. So how have you been able to navigate yourself, mentally, spiritually, physically during these times?
I think for me, I'm a feeler in general, so it's
Mm-hmm.
been really difficult learning how much of a feeler I am. You know what I'm saying? It's like that's a new journey for me because I know I feel things, but um, this time has been extremely hard for me. I've had a lot of death in my family and with my friends and stuff. Um, so I'd say my friends, they've been such a support to me. My pastors, they're like phenomenal and like really tapped into keeping us connected as a body. So we're not just hopping on YouTube every Sunday, like we're actually connecting weekly as a
Mm-hmm.
church via Zoom. So we do like we do the pre-service and post-service on Zoom, so we're still talking to each other, which I think is
Mm-hmm.
super fire. Um, and then therapy. I just restarted therapy recently, so I'm super grateful for that. And just letting people know where I'm at. If I'm struggling, I let people know. If I can't get on a call, I'm like, hey, here's where I'm at. I think
Right.
the beauty of being an entrepreneur is that sometimes if I can't handle it, I can just step away. I don't have to have a reason. I'll just tell people like, hey, I can't get on this. And then, like I'm the strong friend. And so I'm consistently showing up for people. So if I'm telling people like I'm in a bad way, a lot of people are like, whoa, that's serious. Like, okay, maybe we should respect it. So I'm just letting people know where I'm at. Prayer for sure, man. Like I feel like I'm learning God. I know God more now than I ever have in my life. So I'm
So
super grateful that He's just been so real to me during this time.
yeah, awesome. And I mean, my second question to you is like you've been very open and at times vulnerable, on Twitter, on Instagram, letting your feelings known. And I think because of that, you've kind of become a leader in the space. Like people value your opinion and value your take on things. And I know that's probably not how you meant it. You're
Yeah.
just kind of venting, being therapeutic to yourself. So I mean, how important do you think being or having people having that voice of leadership or voice of someone they admire to what they say is in situations like we're in?
I can't say that I was like looking to be a leader in this. I think
Mm-hmm.
I know that have leadership qualities and I lead because of my job and just my personality. I'm always naturally leading. I think for me, because of that, I needed to lead with vulnerability. Like a lot of people see the like best sides of me. They see the highlight reel, the sellout shows, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But even before last year, before most people really got to know who I was, I had a lot of lows, but I also had a lot of wins. People just started paying
Mm-hmm.
attention a lot more last year. And so for me, I was like, man, the best way for me to display, because I think, again, because I'm the strong friend, a lot of people had a lot of high expectations of me. And I'm like, yo, I'm a Black woman in America. And this is hard for me. This is extremely difficult for me, like where I'm from, what I'm doing. And I think that even a Black woman in America in the Christian scene that's
Yeah.
a whole different type of oppression. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a whole different type of heartache and pain. So I had to stop just being like, let me just show the good stuff, or let me just show the super clean parts of Christianity, because I think that's what led me to really being authentic with my faith, is like letting people or seeing people be honest with where they were at. And I'm like, if I could just help somebody know that like God is here through the thick and thin, and it doesn't have to be this pretty journey. It doesn't have to be yes and amen every time. It's like, damn, this is hard right now, and this is what I'm going through. And I think that it's I don't know, like it's proven to be effective because people really resonate with it. And I think if somebody would have shown that to me early on, I wouldn't have had such a hard time arriving to here. But I'm grateful that I'm here and I can show it off to people.
Yeah, I think that having that realness with a platform is important too, right? Because if you, and I'm not going to call it a stumble, but if you have a period of dark times, or, you're upset, or, something bad is going on in your life, but you're always giving off this perfection, everything's great. I'm always smiling,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
making moves, I'm making money, I'm doing all
yeah.
this stuff.
No.
Then when something bad does happen, not only are you going to grieve and not be able to handle it, but your platform will also be like, oh, you're different, or, oh, you've
Yeah, yeah,
changed,
yeah,
what
yeah.
is this? And then all of a sudden, like, oh, we thought Erinn was this, but really she's this. So I think it's important to have that balance for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah. And I think for me, I'm very real with the people in my life and the people around me. If you catch me in public, like, I'm gonna be me. So I started being more me online. I don't know. I think I was just trying to protect, like, not myself, because I don't really, not that I don't care. I think I was trying to protect like people's opinions or like their egos or whatever. I just wanted to play it more safe on the internet. But
Right.
I'm like, yo, this is me. This is how I talk. This is how, like, I recently started vlogging too about like my journey to build my next company. And it's like, the guy who's editing it, shout out to Johnny Jeff, he's like, yo, you're like cursing. Should I edit this out? And I'm like, no, it's not for kids. And it, like, that's who I am. Like, that's where I am authentically right now. I'm going through stuff, and I think that that's the best service I can give to somebody, is my authentic self and stuff. So yeah, showing up on the internet the same way that I show up in real life is super important to me right now.
That's awesome. I appreciate that. That's what I appreciate a lot about you too. Like, we get the highs, the lows, we get the mediums. We
Yeah,
we
yeah,
have we have
yeah,
all of Erinn. We have
yeah.
all of Erinn covered.
You'll catch
Um,
me crying and going crazy about Michelle Obama all in the same day. Same
yeah,
day.
that was,
Yeah.
yeah. There was like every other post. It was like, oh, hey, something's going on. This is a roller coaster. This is emotional.
But that's
Um,
my life. And I
but
tell people that
yeah,
I experience so much emotion in a day, again, because I'm a feeler, but also because I have my hands in so many things. So it's like I could really be going through with one artist, and the next artist I'm doing X, Y, and Z with, or like in my personal life. I tweeted the other day, I experienced the best news of my career on the worst days of my life. So it's like,
yeah,
like, my grandmother died, and I found out that ESPN wanted to pick up Wande's song for the entire month. You know what I'm saying? Like, stuff like that
yeah.
happens. Or, it's just like it's really, it's an ebb and flow for me. So I just have to be there and be honest when it happens.
So during all of this that's been going on, have you actually been able to go out into your community and do work, whether it was protesting or having dialogues and things like that, or have you been mostly, platform based as to what you're doing?
I have a lot of, I think for change to happen, it has to happen on like the micro level first to affect the
Hmm.
macro. So I've been having a lot of like really important conversations, like
Yeah.
micro conversations behind the scenes, behind closed doors with people, engaging with a lot of people. I don't think it's Black people's responsibility to educate the world on how to love us well, but I do think that I should take an active role, especially as a Christian, to take
Hmm.
steps towards other people in the body of Christ that want to learn, because ignorance is not the same as racism, but racist rhetorics are rehearsed by us all. You know what I'm saying? So I think the education piece is so important for me. So I have not been out to protest. I won't share my opinion on protesting. I think it's great for people who feel led to do it, and I want more people to do that. I just don't personally feel like that's what I'm supposed to do. But I do think that my conversations carry a lot of weight with people. And then I think even
Right.
the way in which I'm educating on my post, it's not just, uh, go do this. It's like, here, follow this stream of thought. This is why we're here. This is how you should be thinking about it. Here's a pragmatic response to that. Here's a loving response. And I think things like that are what help open up the door for people to understand a lot more.
Yeah. And one of the things that we've stressed on this show, and just speaking with all of these different people every week, that there's no approach that's necessarily the right approach, and there's no approach that's necessarily the wrong one. Like,
It's
everybody,
both and all.
right, right. Everybody pick, have that lane that they feel that they can effectively do something, and then just go and do something. Whether that's you on the street, whether that's you on your Instagram having important conversations with people, whether it's writing or making songs, or just loving on someone who's different from you. It all matters at the end of the day towards positive change and influence for people.
For sure.
So, all right, I want to break down one of your tweets. It's a longer tweet, but
wild, Justin.
But
wow.
Come on. This is the show. This is important. This is the end of the tweet. I should have got the whole tweet, but can you break down the tweet of you working with only Black creators? I don't know if it's for this season, forever, but just break that down.
For sure. So right now, I feel like another way that I can affect change is to swing my dollar. I employ a lot of people yearly, not full time, but people who part-time work or freelance work, stuff like that. So everything from videographers, creative directors, photographers, drivers, DJs, all of that. And so my goal right now is to use my influence to put money in a community that is underserved. And right now it's my community. I'm looking for Black women specifically. And then after that, I'm looking just for Black people and then minorities. So it's like, there's less access for us to opportunities and things like that. So it's like another way that I can be effective versus just talking is to make sure that the budgets that my artists have are allocated in those directions, and that the money that I'm spending for my personal projects or for rollouts and stuff are going towards people who may not have gotten the spotlight or had the opportunity before. So I know a lot of people got upset about that, but it's like I also have a policy where I only wear T-shirts from Atlanta or from artists that I've worked with. So it's like nobody's upset. Like, well, why won't you wear a Cincinnati shirt? It's like because I'm from Atlanta and I want to support Atlanta creatives and Atlanta businesses. So I do that. So I'm doing the same thing with Black people. It's like I want to support my community. I've supported everybody else for my entire life. You know what I'm saying? And the Black dollar only circulates for, I think, less than 6 hours in the Black community, which is the least of every community. The Asian community, I think it's 6 days. White America, it's like 24 days, circulates within their community. Black people have the least dollar circulation in their community. So I'm just trying to circulate the dollar back to people who are creating and building who may not have the opportunity.
See, I know I'm willing to bet that half the people were upset only because they can't work with you now. Like Chad and I were like, no.
And some people, so my thing is like, I'll make money with anybody. I'm just saying where I'm giving my money right now.
I get it. I get it.
And then to a degree, it's like I can only, like, if Reach wants to hire somebody, like currently we're on a video shoot and it's not Black people, but that's fine because that's who they've hired. But then when it comes to our dancers, when it comes to like all of those things, we're supplementing with that. But if I'm hiring the crew, I'm looking for a Black crew. I'm looking, you know what I'm saying? So that's where I'm at with it right now.
No, I got you. Now, I know every Tuesday you kind of give back in a way to the community, at least of artists, with your own talks where you're spitting that free e-game. So
free game, you know what's up. Yo,
yeah,
shout out.
Yeah, I reversed it. My memory's not so great, but it was halfway there. So what do you do? What do you do every Tuesday? I guess spit some game for the people. I know it's tomorrow. It's Monday, so they have to tune in tomorrow. But what do you do on Tuesdays?
So every Tuesday, my business partner and so I own a booking company in addition to being a manager and now being a label owner. So my booking company is called Invite Only. We, along with the Journey Management, which is Matthew St. Fleur, that's Bocce's manager, Ray Benton's manager, Carrie, the Dreamers manager. We throw a panel every week that just gives free insights to artists. So we did one on marketing. We've done one on songwriting. We've had everybody from like, we've had Beyonce songwriters pull up and speak. We had the head of artist relations for Foot Locker.
Dope.
We have one of J. Cole's producers pull up in the producer session. Just like we've just been having
Yeah.
like really great people come, and for an hour and a half they give free game. And so I'll drop the at. Let's see, if you haven't been at the panel, I don't know what you're doing. You're missing out on free game. But every week we're giving out free information. It's just you can ask questions, whatever the topic is. This week is music and tech. So the tech game really changed my life. When I was like 23, 24, I lived in a music and tech residency in Oakland. So you guys can go to the Journey Management's page, and in his bio, you can what do you call it? RSVP for the panel tomorrow, and then they'll send you a link. It's on Zoom. So I lived in a music and tech residency for like a month in Oakland, and just learned about like music, how to filter it through the lens of tech, the way that you prototype things, the way that you advance and market and things like that. And I think it's what's given me my creative edge. So I'm extremely excited about the one tomorrow. I think that artists sometimes will be like, well, I don't want to hear anything about music and tech, but you need it. Like, if you haven't seen Amine, are you familiar with Amine? He's the rapper.
I'm not. No.
So he just had a crazy rollout. His album just dropped this past weekend. He had a crazy rollout, and he was doing a lot of like really unique technological things, especially when it came to IG Live. He figured out how to hack IG Live. It was crazy. He did this green screen effect. There's so many cool, innovative things. Like even
Yeah.
Instagram, Spotify, all of those are tech, but we consider them music. But that's the intersection. They're tech first before they're music. So yeah.
So everybody go check that out. She dropped the at. What are your hopes and dreams for the future coming out of this madness of 2020?
My hopes and dreams. Um, my hope is that salvation would flood the earth. My dream is that Black women would be loved and respected and cared for in a way that actually behooves who we are and who God has made us to be. Another dream is for my artists to continue to succeed, but that the succession or the success would come with harmony. You know, it's like there's no point in having success if you don't have peace of mind. You know what I'm saying? And that's something that I'm really learning right now. And then that just I have a new project, a new company that I'm launching right now, and my desire is really for that just to do exceedingly well. So yeah, those are like my hopes and dreams right now. I hope that people really meet Jesus, like for real. And that's not like me trying to be super Christian, but like, woe be it unto me, as the Bible says, that I would care more about like worldly gain than people's souls, you know? I mean, everybody but Black women. I think Black women, to a degree, a lot of times appreciate ourselves a lot, but I want everyone to appreciate Black women. I know we are the bottom of the totem pole. You know what I'm saying? We are the most educated people group in America. On average, we have 2.5 degrees per Black woman. There's no other people group in America that educated, and statistically, we're the second lowest paid. So that metric alone is showing like how undervalued we are, but also 75,000 Black women over the last 12 years have been kidnapped, and we don't know where the bodies are. We don't know any of that. You know what I'm saying? 75,000 people in 12 years, that should be global. You know, that's worse than the epidemic right now. You know what I'm saying? Like before, like as far as people being taken. So it's like things like that. These are things that aren't talked about, but everybody's like, oh, we love Black women. I think we love the idea of Black women. America, especially, the world loves the idea of Black women, but they don't love Black women.
I guess if that's all the questions, we're gonna go up next with J. Crum. Erinn, thank you for taking the. Yep, I knew he was your dude, and I knew Derek is also your dude. Yes! So this is an episode.
I love him. Y'all better.
An episode of great people.
Great, yeah, it's great people.
Derek's probably going to spend most of the time making fun of me because that's the type of person he is. But in between his jokes, he's going to give you something good.
Yeah, he's a Black uncle. That's why I call him Uncle. And then he gives me the pep talks. Like sometimes when I'm really down, when I'm wilding on Twitter, he'll call me. He'll be like, yo, you good? Let's talk. And he just lets me vent. He doesn't judge me. He doesn't tell me to change my mind. He'd be like, keep it moving because these people are crazy. And yeah, I love him. He's all right. Thanks, Justin.
Erinn, thank you so much. I'll talk to you later. Yo,
What's up?
what up, Mr. Crum?
How's it going, man?
How you feeling?
Feeling good, man. Feeling good.
Good. I'm glad to have you here. So let me ask you, man. I know you've been super outspoken about a lot of the current events and a lot of things that have been happening. You've had a lot of things to say. I mean, how have the last few months really like impacted you and really, I guess, affected you and shaped how you've been the last 4, 5, 6 months now almost?
Yeah, I'll keep it a bug, bro. Like this stuff isn't anything that's new.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like this isn't anything that's new. This isn't anything that hasn't been going on. I've been talking about this for as long as I can remember. I've been working. I've been working in our community with stuff like this for as long as I can remember. I think the only thing that's different now is like a lot of the distractions are gone.
Yeah.
So then there's people who did not have the conversation before who are now wanting to have the conversation. Or were wanting to have the conversation a couple months. I think people are getting tired of having the conversation now. But I'm grateful for things like this to where like, because you guys show that even as the time has gone on and that a lot of other things have kind of died down, you guys are consistent as far as wanting to have this conversation and talking, brainstorming, coming up with ways of how to push forward the right way. And so, yeah. But yeah, I think these last few months has been more of just having that conversation and seeing, okay, now that there's more people willing to have a conversation, how can we move forward? How can we do things better this time? So
I wanted to ask you about your gang war post on Twitter.
yeah.
I know you work with at-risk youth, right? That's your day job. So, I mean, if there was ever anything that's important about communities, it's that. It's working with the young people. So can you talk about what you do and then like what you've been seeing, especially with that Twitter post that you made?
Yeah. So I work with youth, at-risk youth. And right now, I don't know what it is, man, but right now it's just there's a lot of there was like 5 shootings yesterday.
Wow.
With just kids that I work with, and I had like last week, one of the kids I know was shot and killed.
Sorry, man.
I like grew up, that I like not grew up with, but like I used to run a group home, and I have kids who they come and they live with me for. This kid was with me for like a year, and we just saw, there was just a lot of just cool stuff just a cool kid, man, and he was just in the wrong place, and I don't even think he was the guy they were looking for that killed him, and it's just stuff. I don't know, man. It's just it's hard, It's hard. It's hard with just in the environment that they're in, and these kids they don't know anything else, and so it's tough because it's like you give and you try to teach and you try to show that there's a better way, and it's like sometimes people just don't get it,
Yeah.
Like I'm a small voice to the giant voice that they hear every day. The consistent voice that they hear is telling them that there's something less than what God made them, and it's disheartening to see that, you know, like 17, 18-year-old kids, you know, just that was the end of their life. That's it, you know. So yeah. So I didn't mean to get all
No, 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 no. I
emotional. I'm
mean,
not
no,
gonna lie.
it's
I was not expecting that today. Yeah.
no, man, it's real. And, you know, I'm sorry if I kind of blitzed you with
No, it's
that
all right.
question.
No, it's all right.
Um, but I thought it was like important, you know,
Yeah.
especially we're talking about communities. I know it's not a job that everybody could do. Like you are specifically called to and equipped and have the heart to actually do this, right?
Mhm.
And you don't always see the results,
Yeah.
but I know that and I just know because I know you and I know who you are, that there have been people whose lives you have touched and changed, and they have gone on to be better and do bigger things. So for every one of these tragedies, there's there's positives too.
Yeah. Yeah. I appreciate you. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know artists, they always say like, oh, it doesn't matter, you know, if I touch that one person, right, at the end of the day, that's what matters.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to take this opportunity to ask you and for
Yeah.
everybody watching, like, how can they specifically pray for or even help you or people like you in what they do?
Um. Honestly. Um. Honestly, just like prayer. Like just praying for encouragement, bro. Because it's a thankless job, bro. It's thankless. It's you know it's a thing of like where you are giving of yourself and you know of your time of your energy of your emotion of everything and like you'll still get cussed out or you'll still be you'll still be
Yeah.
like you'll still be told like or you know they'll still be like well I'm still gonna do it this way you know so it's a thankless job so I think prayer to stay encouraged actual encouragement um, support, stuff like that. I think for people in fields like this, it's tough work, man, and it's traumatic in a lot of ways and stuff like that. So I think um, it's a weird question. Like even that feels weird for me to even say. Like uh, we need to be encouraged because it's like you're so used to like giving. So like to say, okay, what do I need? It was tough. It's a weird thing to try to answer. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think that would be it. Yeah.
So let me flip that question for you. What's probably the best or most rewarding thing that you've seen come out of your work with these kids?
Yeah. So there's a I get messages still like all the time of kids who even like the biggest knuckleheaded kids they'll like message me and be like, hey, look, I know you know I was a hole to you. I don't know if I can say that on Rapzilla. My bad.
Nah,
Um,
you bleeped it. You
Okay, cool, cool,
censored
cool.
it.
All right, right, right. But yeah, they're like, hey, I know I was ill to you or whatever, but like, I want to let you know that like I'm doing better now, and you know, I have a kid right now. He just got married. Um, he has a little daughter. And he's you know he's not selling drugs anymore. He's like works at Target.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like it's stuff like that.
Yeah.
Where like, so just seeing that there has been differences made. You know, I have me and my wife ran a girls' home, and so like every once in a while I'll get a message just saying, you know, one girl let me know a few days ago that she is uh, a year sober and like she has a job and everything like that, and so she's trucking along. So it's been cool to see um, stuff like that. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah.
It's awesome, man. And I know you've also used your actual musical platform to
Mhm.
speak about a lot of issues,
Yeah.
especially the last couple of months, couple of weeks.
Mhm.
So can you maybe talk about some of the recent songs that you just dropped
Yeah.
that touched on social injustice?
Mhm.
You've even put out a lot of visuals
Yeah.
too, and I know you're always working, you're always creating,
Mhm.
especially now
Yeah.
that you're home, and not touring, not playing shows. We spoke. Check out the podcast that did a
Yeah.
survival of the artist with Crum,
Yeah.
and you can learn about how this man is making moves when nobody's making moves because we're not allowed to. But yeah, so talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So the last three songs we've put out, Lost and Found, Rumble, and Invisible. All address that. I think Rumble and Invisible probably they're heavier
Mm-hmm.
songs as far as talking about um, just injustices and talking about even things within CHH. Um, Rumble really speaks to that, of where
Mm-hmm.
there's a line where like you want my culture, but you don't want my fears. Whereas this thing of like you want to participate, even people who listen to CHH, right? They want to participate
Mm-hmm.
in listening. They want to participate in going to shows. They want to dress a certain way. They want to talk a certain way. And then you get into the artists where they, like I said, they dress, they act, they all are heavily influenced by
Mm-hmm.
hip hop culture. But when it comes to speaking out about the creators, of the people that created this thing that you love the most, you don't have the same love and the same passion.
Right.
Like you love what we created more than you love the creators of it. And like when I see that, honestly, it feels like, okay, well, y'all just making bad parodies of hip hop.
Right.
Honestly, because you dress it, you talk it, you do all that, but then you don't have anything to say when things come up. You don't have anything to say when there's a black man dead in the street, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But and that's for CHA and that's for hip hop. I think it's on both sides. You know what I mean? Where it's like when I see white rappers specifically being quiet on this, all right, you know what I mean. So I spoke about that a lot in Rumble, and then
Mm-hmm.
with Invisible, I spoke more about the silence. You know, it's this thing of like um, you don't see what's been happening. You know, and I think recently people, because they don't have sports, people are now seeing that stuff is happening. You know what I mean? Like because Tom Brady ain't throwing a football and LeBron James wasn't dunking. Y'all like. But now it's like you don't have that distraction. So like Invisible speaks on that of just like you know you guys have we've been talking about this for years,
Mm-hmm.
and it's you guys have just chosen not to look at it. So
Yeah, and now that sports are back, you have
yeah,
a whole new slew of people that are upset about
yeah,
how athletes are choosing to express themselves, for this going on.
yeah.
I'm never watching the NBA again. All right, cool. They didn't need you anyway.
Right.
I'm never
And that's
watching the
not true.
NFL
They're
again.
still watching. They just wanted attention on Twitter.
It's like, how did you know? You
Right.
tuned in, right? You watched it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, like every week I say, if anyone has any questions, like I had Lecrae on, he was talking about stuff. KB was going into some like really deep stuff, and then people were like, "So when's your next single
Yeah,
dropping?" I'm
it's
like,
like
"No."
look, like, and this isn't me trying. Look, I'm not trying to like. I don't want to make anyone feel uncomfortable. But what are we here for? Listen, like, out of everything I said, the only for a debate about whether CHH is dead or not, you didn't say no one had anything to say about anything else. Like that. That's the
That's
thing.
exactly what you were
Like
saying.
that's the problem. That's why this show has to exist. That's why this show has to exist because we're more caught up about you know uh, a label of Christian whatever Christian hip hop. We're more concerned about that than listen. There are black people still being killed by the police, right? There are like listen, man. I don't want to go. I don't. I don't want to have that conversation. Like why are we more passionate about that than people's lives? I don't understand that.
But that's how it is for everything, right? People get uncomfortable, or they want to sidetrack things because it doesn't fit into their box of importance, because it doesn't affect them.
Right.
Just like, and so I wanted to ask you this, but it actually fits perfectly. Yeah. There's a ton of people who don't believe that COVID-19 is real because they didn't get sick. You are probably the only person I've had on this show, and one of only a handful of people I know that actually got sick with coronavirus.
Yeah.
So, what was that experience like, and what did you learn from that? Because for whatever reason, wearing masks and taking measures to protect lives is also very controversial and political for whatever reason. So as somebody who had it, what can you tell us about it?
It sucks. It sucks. Wear a mask. It sucks, man. Body aches, fever. A couple of days I wasn't sure if I was gonna wake up. Like, it's really bad. So wear a mask, man.
And was yours a more mild case, or was yours?
Mine was bad. I had it for like 3 weeks. So I had it for 3 weeks. My wife had it for like a few days, but mine was pretty bad. So yeah.
Okay, we'll get off the COVID. Mm-hmm. How important do you feel like it is to, use your platform during times of duress, struggle, uncertainty? Especially you have a voice of wisdom. Like, you don't post anything like intentionally out of pocket to get a rise out of people. Like, you're always very intentional with what you post.
Yeah, everything I put, I stand behind 100%. I think it's important. It's important to use your platform to speak out. It's important to use your platform to stay. I think for a while there were certain things. I think Erinn spoke a little bit about this, but it was stuff where you don't want to ruffle feathers, and so sometimes you don't show your personality. You know what I mean? And sometimes you don't show certain stuff because you just don't want to rub people the wrong way. But I think I would rather stand on my platform and say how I feel about it, and where I stand, and you be fully clear about where I'm at, how I stand, and then lose you as a fan, than for me to stay quiet and have to, not stand on anything so that I can keep you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can know exactly where I stand, how I feel about it. And if you rock with me, cool. If you don't, that's cool too. But I don't have to hide who I am. And I think a lot of people are afraid to speak out because they want to not worry about keeping fans. Or they want to worry about keeping fans. It's like, what's more important, really? Like, a chance that somebody wants to have a hat, somebody will buy a hat from you, or to speak out about people dying, to speak out about, like, these are lives, man, for real. These are lives. So, your platform is important, and I think a lot of people are cowards and don't use it correctly.
Okay, there it is. Is it more important to be vocal on socials or to have the day-to-day convos?
I think both. I think both are important, and I think a lot of people opt to they won't say things on socials because, and then they'll say like, "Oh well, I talked to a Black person today." Like nah, fam. Like, both are important. Both are important because, I think on social is important for the width of the conversation, right? I can my words, how I feel, all of that can be spread quicker and to more people. But with the one-on-one conversations, it also is important because it builds depth. So then I can really, really get into the nitty and gritty about why these things matter. And I can hear you and I can hear your perspective, and then we can go somewhere with that. But
Yeah.
both are equally as important. And so, yeah, I would never opt for one for the other. I think both of them have to keep happening.
Yeah, and let me add this to that. It also depends on who your platform is and who you're following, right? So if you don't have a lot of followers, let's just say, then you're not really talking to anybody. So you're going to have to go out and have those conversations with people. Or someone like myself, I feel like mostly artists follow me. So having conversations like this online is more so preaching to the choir or just getting retweets of people that agree with me. You have to have the conversations with people who don't agree with you.
Right.
So that's why doing a show like this, I can broaden my general audience of like who follows me on Twitter or whatever.
Yeah.
And you have these conversations.
And again, because I see some of these comments which are wild. This is not a show to advance your career. This is not a show to figure out how to get reviews. We're talking about community, right? We're talking about this conversation. We're talking about how we can push forward on this. So like, please look outside yourself for a little bit while we're talking about this type of stuff. Just, yeah.
I'm gonna let you go.
All right. I appreciate you, bro.
No, I appreciate you. I really like the ring light in your glasses. It makes it look like you have these cool.
It's like the old school Diddy videos. You know what I'm saying?
Derek
I
Minor.
love that. I love that.
Welcome.
Thank you.
I know you do 100 podcasts per week. So that's why I waited 11 weeks to have you. I was trying to give you a break, but you probably already did 10 this morning. So I figured I just got to get him at some point. All right. So we're going to get serious.
Okay, let's get
So
it.
all these tragedies and all these things happen. And I know, as Crum said, it's nothing new under the sun. But every single time it happens, I know it impacts you and it impacts a lot of people in so many ways. So, what are your first thoughts that come to mind when these things happen, and how long does it actually take you to kind of like come down from that to have some semblance of normalcy, if any?
Well, that's the funny thing is I don't think people realize this, but for Black people, this is normalcy. Like that's the thing. For other people, like this is abnormal. For us, it's like this is it. I've been hearing about people getting killed. When I was it 10, 11? I was like 10 or 11. I saw my grandfather get beat down by cops, like on his own property. So I'm like, this conversation, this not new for me. This is normal. This is normalcy. So I just think what is abnormal, or what was abnormal for me, especially when I first started doing like being within like Christian circles outside of the Black church. But when I first started being in like Christian circles with like multicultural, different people, like white people, Hispanic, et cetera, what was abnormal at first was the reaction. Because, back home, it's like, yo, dang, they beat so-and-so up. It's like either numbness or pain. So you just like, dang, I can't believe they did this, man. Bump the police, F the police, and that's kind of the sentiment when something like this happened. But I was kind of trippy. I remember I was going to this church with an all-white staff, and I remember the idea of police brutality was foreign to them. There was one dude literally said, I thought the cops were the good guys my whole life. And it was like, that's when I realized, oh, wait a minute, I'm in a whole different world. Because knowing I ever, growing up, the cops was not the good guys. It's like you got to fight the ops and you got to fight the cops. It's like you dead on both sides. So, for me, this is normal. So now that was abnormal, but now for me, that's even normal. I'm just like, okay, it is what it is. Like, I just started realizing I thought that the Christian church was like the way things are framed is like the evangelicals or whatever are the good guys of the story, and that it's, you know, is it was good guys versus bad guys, right? But now
Mm-hmm.
what I'm starting to see is it's like, nah, it's just there's some good people that's just racist. Like when you go back and look at history though, the more I started studying history, like, fam, it wasn't atheists that was going into Africa and stealing black people, it was Christians.
Right.
Like, yeah, it was Christians that was doing that. Like
In the name of God, you know, because
in the
this
name
was the right thing to do.
of God. So then the more I study history, I'm like, oh wow, the Crusades, Christian, like transatlantic slave trade, Christians. So then you look forward and you look at who was the people that, you know, and obviously we had abolitionist Christians too, like the Claphams. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Shout out to them. But you know, by and large, the people who was trying to keep the whole world of white supremacy in line was Southern Christians. Like Southern good Christian folk would go to church, worship their God, and then go hang a nigger out in the back by the tree. I mean, like literally good Christian folks. You know, good Christian folk on postcards with dead black people hanging in the back. Them was good Christian folk. Them wasn't atheists. You know what I'm saying? So you fast forward to today, you like, dang, well, the good Christian folk continuing continuing the idea of that not being an issue. You know what I'm saying? So for me, like the more I've studied history, the more numb I've come to it. But it's also, if I'm just being honest, it's added a level of confusion. Like where I'm like, dang, man, like how do you even navigate this going forward? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Yeah.
Yeah. It was a spectacle too. Like in the 1800s or whatever, and they didn't have movie theaters, but hey, we could go to a lynching on Friday night, you know, bring the whole family.
No,
And like,
Sunday
it was
night
a thing.
after church, potluck, dead niggas. After church, that's what it was. Potluck, and let's go hang some niggers. This nigger did this. Like that was Christian folk. Like by and large, like even when you
Yeah.
look at Southern Baptists, like there was the Baptists and they split over the rights to own black people. You know, Northern Baptists and Southern Baptists, they split over the rights. That was the core on what said we're gonna switch our theology. That's why I always find it puzzling when people say this is not a physical problem, it's a spiritual problem. It's like, nah, it's a physical problem too.
Yeah.
Like the Southern Baptists split and said, we believe it's our God-given right to own black people. You know what I'm saying? And to think, bro, like my grandmother was a sharecropper. She was a sharecropper. She wasn't a like my mom remembers segregation. She remember when they first integrated the schools. So
Yeah.
like for me, the idea that those same good Christian folk that was hanging niggas out back after church and had slaves and that the ones that maybe weren't rich enough to have slaves, but they applauded it, that helped good Christian folk that burnt down Tulsa, you know what I'm saying? Like the people
Mhm.
that burnt all these places down. The idea, if that's like my mom and grandparents' generation, the fact that these people don't like the fact that these people are, you know, they had grandkids, they had kids. Like that perspective is not just gonna evaporate because we changed some laws. Like it's here. So then that's what I had to wrestle with. I had to wrestle with that there like much of Christianity has a level of, you know, there's some tumult there when it comes with race issues, you know. I
Yeah.
had to come to grips with that.
And for anybody who wants some more background into what Derek is saying, and Tulsa, which was Black Wall Street, right?
For sure.
And lots of those things. Derek and I, it's almost 2 years ago now, still
Yeah,
super
for
relevant.
sure.
We did
Absolutely.
a black and white conversation, and then there was 4 different articles and podcasts that went along with that. So just go into Rapzilla and look up a black and white conversation, and you can hear Derek kind of go in depth into some of the things that he's talking about, and you will definitely learned something. And I think it's funny what you say about history, right? Because a lot of people, maybe in their 50s and their 60s, like my parents' age or, grandparents, they'll say that, oh, the young people or the people these days, they don't know history. They don't know their history. They don't know what they're talking about. And I find that response is only when we remind them of the history that they didn't learn about in their textbooks. They don't know history or that history. They think we're making up that history, but conveniently they were not taught that history, because that would not make America great again, or that would kind of push down the facade of, this is an amazing country. When you go back to even, how they romanticize World War II, it's like, oh, this is great. World War II, we were heroes. We were in there. Never mind the fact, that, bombing countries and tons of loss of life in Vietnam, and you just move on and on. And every single thing that's been romanticized also has a super dark history.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
And that's not what's taught in the history books, because that's not what's cool. That doesn't make us look like heroes.
Absolutely. And the idea of history is his story. His story. Like history, his story. So America is not going to paint itself in a negative light. Christians aren't going to paint themselves in a regular light. And just everybody has to be the hero. Like all of us, we love to take the things that we triumphed over, and we love to sweep the things that might embarrass us under the rug. So to think that, and then you got to think today is, we have access to the internet. The 50s, 60s,
right.
Heck, even the 90s, 80s, people didn't have widespread access to the internet so that people could hear different narratives. So I was telling a story about my grandfather. I don't know how far we got, but the Tuskegee experiments, where people would they would tell, young Black people, hey, we're giving you a vaccination. We're giving you penicillin, like your flu shot or whatever. And it wound up being syphilis. And I'm talking about even into the 2000s, some of those people died with syphilis. They couldn't get healed. They couldn't go to a doctor. They went to a doctor by federal decree. They could not heal them. And I was always told, like, we're talking about history. I remember telling somebody about that, and they told me it was a conspiracy theory. Until recent time, where now we have access to all this information. It's like, nah, that really was not a conspiracy theory. It was actually a real thing that America did to Black people. And it's like, dang, man, wrestling with all that history, it really does something to you. And I think for me, I've almost become to like numb, and that's just being honest. And I'm not saying that that's a good thing, and I'm not saying that's what people should aspire to be, but it's what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I saw somebody ask about the podcast Derek and I did. If you go on the Rapzilla SoundCloud, look up a black and white conversation with Derek Miner, and then you'll see 4 different things pop up, and you can check it out. Or if you like to read, which I would appreciate, you find it on the Rapzilla website and actually read words that I wrote, which nobody does. Which is why I got to do this. So I would prefer you do that, but the podcast is fine too. So it's just a black and white conversation with Derek Miner. And then there's 4 different titles. I don't remember them exactly, but they cover 4 different things. So once all the protests and the community dialogues and all these things started happening, were you able to actually go out on the streets and kind of experience the things that were going on in your neighborhood and community? And if so, what were some of the things maybe that you experienced that, people don't talk about?
Yeah, I think I went out and protested in Nashville. It was for me, I almost was like, it's my due diligence. I gotta do it. You know what I mean? But bro, where I'm at now, that's why I started Ownership is the New Black. We own now, because I'm tired of protesting. My guy.
I only bought the shirt for this interview.
You and Chad were the first 2 people to buy one, which is
really
mad respect. Yeah, a Puerto Rican and a white dude, man. So just mad respect for that, man. But that's why I did that. It's because I was like, okay, I done rapped about it, I talked about it, sang about it, did interviews about it. What can
Mhm.
I do on top of advocating for social justice? What can I do in real life? And it's helping people with financial freedom. I've been
Mhm.
blessed to experience a level of financial freedom, and I had that even before I started making money with music. So, some of it is just great principles. So that's why I put it into action. But what did I notice? I noticed that that's the thing for white people and for people that aren't black. I would say non-black people, not just white people, but non-black people, you know, this is normal to us, which is not good. This not should not be normal to us.
Yeah.
Like, it's traumatic. It's extremely traumatic that these things are normal, but nonetheless, they're normal. And it was just back to business as usual. You know, that's what it is, unfortunately.
Yeah, and Erinn spoke a little bit about her only wanting to work with Black artists right now and just
Yeah,
sowing and feeding back into that community. And that's essentially what you're trying to teach people and inform people. It's not the prosperity gospel. It is
no,
the own property gospel is what you're talking about right now. Own property to accumulate wealth and give back in your communities and have your own ownership.
absolutely. Like, it's what every other culture but black people do. Black people are the only people, African Americans, I'll say, are the only people because we weren't immigrants. We didn't come here by choice. So
Mhm.
an immigrant comes here with a plan.
Right.
I'm leaving my country. I'm coming to America to accomplish this. So that means all 10 of us get in a house or whatever, and we buy one person a house as we come up and do that or that. Like, that's what every other immigrant people, that's what they do. So when immigrants from anywhere come in, that's what they think. Black people, African Americans, not even black people, because even Nigerians, they do the same thing. They come over,
Mhm.
they have a plan. African Americans, we are the only people that don't realize we are a nation within a nation. We don't realize that. White people know that because this nation is theirs. That's why you have a Koreatown, you have a little Tokyo, you have a Chinatown. That's why you have that, because somebody was smart enough to say, I'm coming over here from China. Let's take this area, let's own this area, and whenever someone else comes from China, they have a place to stay, they have a community to come through, get on their feet, have a little familiarity within this area. We actually don't think that way. Like, we are trying to assimilate into this American dream that at its present time, I'm not going to say it's not attainable because I'm quote unquote living the American dream, but by and large, without certain exceptions, that's not happening for black people. Just take the cricket laws off the table. Just the what has happened to us for the past 401 years, like that in itself, without an infusion, is going to be hard for black people as a community to catch up. So
Mhm.
until we start focusing in that mindset and say, yo, nah, we have to realize we're a nation within a nation, and we have to start working like it. And that's not to say isolation. It's just to say cooperation, if that makes sense. It's not about isolating and saying, okay, we don't come over to the west side of Nashville. It's only black people allowed.
Yeah.
That's not what Erinn is saying. It's just saying, no, we need more collaboration,
Mhm.
right? Collaboration, so that we're able to, as a nation, pick the community up in a way. That's not to say never do business with white people. I'm sure, like, Doc Watson is white. My business partner is white. Erinn and Doc do business all the time. She's just saying, since I have this platform, I'm gonna
Yeah.
not only, I'm gonna specifically look for people within my community to help them get their first start. If they're able to do that, like if they're capable, right? So
Yeah.
that's the idea. It's not
I
hard at all.
I saw 350 Music. You commented about, us skipping over Mexicans being brought here as slaves too. I don't think we're skipping over it, more in terms of Derek's talking about the African American community right now, and that's what he knows about. You know,
Well, yeah, I mean, I wish I'm not Mexican. I can't tell the story
yeah,
of a Mexican immigrant. And that's the thing. There's not and that's what happens with people. and I've noticed this, I don't know
All
what
lives mattering.
I don't know
All
what three
lives
five.
mattering.
Yeah, I don't know what he looks like, but a lot of times it's within people that kind of subscribe more to the more evangelical right wing thing, because people that are kind of in the struggle or whatever, they don't do the pain wars. Who experienced the most pain, right? Like they're like someone who is at the border that's been put in a cage. You don't see them fighting for, well, my pain is worse than African Americans. You see mostly a idea of like, dang man, like, man, I hate that happened to you, man. I'm like, it's a bond that people that have been through pain experience.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And for guys that would ask something silly like that, I'm like, we're not talking about Hispanics right now. It's a black man talking about his experience. Why would you be threatened with that? The all lives mattering comes from a rush to be the victim, right? So the black person says, it's almost as if I'm talking to my wife and she says, Derek, it really hurt my feelings when it really hurts my feelings when you don't give me a hug in the morning. And if I wake up and say, well, you don't give me a kiss in the morning, I'm not acknowledging my wife's pain. I don't care about my wife's pain, honestly. I want to flip the script and make her the reason why I'm experiencing what I experience now. Like, it's not about resolving and saying, oh, I'm so sorry, that really hurt. I'm sorry I'm hurt you. It's really more like, well, no, you hurt me. Like, so now I'm gonna rush to be the victim first. Like, yes, there were all types of slaves, but nobody in America, and history will say this, slavery did not affect anyone more than it affected black people. And by and large, black people were the ones that were the slave labor here in America. I don't even know why we're gonna all lives matter slavery. That is just pretty, I mean, to be honest, it's kind of selfish in this moment. But I digress. We could keep moving.
All right, let's keep moving. Yeah, I wanted to address that because I felt like you'd have something to say. And I don't, and 350, that wasn't to like necessarily call you out and put you on the spot, because it may have been well intentioned, but like that's kind of the sentiment when people all lives say all lives matter, even if you weren't necessarily talking about a white person, because that's the same thing. Like a lot of people think, oh, white people are the only ones that say all lives matter, but it could be Hispanic people too. It could be other black people when we're talking about another race.
I mean,
It doesn't
it's
it doesn't
colorism.
end.
It's
Yeah.
colorism. Every nation and that's the problem with the German, because it was created, like the color code was created by a German named Blumenthal, I think. And that's the problem with colorism. Because prior to that, everyone operated in clans. They operated in groups, countries. It was a people group. So, and it wasn't all clean, but what wound up happening is when you created these color codes that would say, okay, the whiter you are, the better you are, and the blacker you are, the worse you are. Well, once that was created, now within nations, you start seeing
Hmm.
colorism. So you start seeing the light skinned people in any nation frustrated with the dark skinned people and vice versa. So the thing is, that's why we have to get rid of colorism in general. Like,
Hmm.
that's why colorism doesn't just affect the black community, it affects everybody. You feel me?
I was just going to ask, do you feel that artists with large platforms have an obligation to speak about issues? And if so, do you think it's more important than ever?
No, I don't feel an artist of a large platform has an obligation to speak out. But I do say that you just have to be okay with the consequences of that. You know, if you just got to be okay with not what every artist has to pick and choose. Like, I'm okay with the consequences of fighting for black
Mhm.
rights because I'm black and my children are black, and I'm a man first before I'm an artist. And I've built up enough revenue streams where I can never rap again and I'll be fine. So, but everybody's not in that position. You
Mm-hmm.
know, some people, they gotta tap dance a little bit to be able to live. So I'm like, man, you gotta take care of your family first. Everybody's not an activist, and everybody ain't set up
Yeah.
like I'm set up. So nah, I don't feel that way. Um, but I do feel like, you know, if you're vocal about everything in the world and you say that you're an ally to black people and you don't, you know, and if you profit off of black culture and you don't ever align yourself with black people, I think that that makes me start looking at you like you might be a leech or you might be part of the problem. And that'll make me start saying, I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
I really rock with that person because, you know, they make all their money off rap. Like no key, like low key, I'm gonna keep it G with you. My man Zanti, bro, I rock with Zanti. And the reason why is because Zanti has made his career off of, you know, hip hop, which is pretty much black music. Well, like my man Zanti, like you know, you could tell he has a passion for black people. Like he loves us, you know what I'm saying? In the sense that, you know, he's not just making money off our culture, but he's also at the same time, like he's I'm sure he's lost some fans by how vocal he's been
Mm-hmm.
over some of this stuff. And it's like, yo, I got mad love, mad respect for homie. And it's like a dude like that, I'm like, yeah, you know. But if it's a dude that's like, you know, like making, you know, making money off of blackness and making money off our culture, but won't ever stick up for the culture, I don't have a lot of respect for you, just being real.
Having kind of approaching everything you do in the lens that you're a leader.
Oh yeah, leadership. Nah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I definitely look at myself as a person that people look to try to understand, you know, help me get my perspective and they value it and I have to steward that well. But by and large, I'm just being myself, like
Mm-hmm.
being honest, like, and that's what I think about leadership. Leadership, you can be developed, but you kind of are a leader or you're not. You know, leaders are compelled by, in my mind, they're compelled by this thing inside of them that says I have to do the right thing. You know what I'm saying? And I think, you know, for me, that's kind of, I have that. Even when there's times that I don't want to lead, it's just something in me that's just like, you better stand up and say something or you a clown. And it's just like, there's this internal battle like, well, you're going to lose some fans. Like, so? You know, it's like this battle. And it's like, you know what? I'm going to just go and get this off real quick. You know what I'm saying?
All right, so let's talk about those fans.
Mm-hmm.
You had a whole thread on Twitter the other day about
Yeah.
CHH artists leaving not because they're greedy,
Mm-hmm.
but because of the expectations of fans or the people listening to their music. So how how do you, and I guess you talked about it a little bit just now, but what is it like to have that constant, like every little move you do, like at any moment you can get jumped by a bunch of people who you don't know personally, but their threat is we'll stop listening to your music.
It's frustrating, quite honestly. You know, it's a lot of pressure, but it's mostly just irritation. It's just like, man, just just leave and be gone. Like, you know, it's good. Like, just leave. Like, I'm not gonna cry. You're not gonna cry. We're good. Like, it's fine. You know, I think the thing with me is where I'm at in life. I only care about being true to myself and true to the Most High. I don't really care about. But I'm not gonna let nobody hold me hostage over a $10 hat, man. You're not gonna hold me hostage over the threat of buying a $25 shirt. G, like it's fine. You know, there's a lot of people in the world. I'm gonna be just fine. Like, so I'm not. That's kind of where I've gotten to. It's a little bit disheartening, you know what I'm saying, at times when people you know when people when I'm talking about pouring my heart out and talking about, you know, the black experience and they're belligerent and mean spirited and all that. That
Mhm.
does hurt a little bit because that just hurts in general. Like we know that, right? But at the end of the day, man, I'm better off and you're better off because that person, he doesn't have to hear me say black people actually matter, and I don't have to hear him say we don't. So it's good. It's better for everybody that way.
Yeah, and $10 hats is kind of a steal.
You
So
feel me?
if if
Hey,
every
I'm trapping
everybody
price
watching
for the
this,
dough.
everyone watching this, if you rock with Derek, go grab a $10 hat. I might have to grab one after for $10. That's less than this
Hey,
shirt. And I wear hats all the time. I don't wear this shirt all the time. Only for Derek.
the price going up right now. As soon as you go on the website, that boy to jump 50%.
Let me ask you this, because a lot of people, as you talk about how fans announcing that they're leaving you
For
and they're not
sure.
going to speak to you as if it was really important to your day. How do you feel about artists who make the big announcement that they're leaving? And I feel like all people within CHH have kind of fantasized about, all right, if I'm leaving, if I'm going out the door, this is exactly what I would say. Because I have it written out in my head like, yo,
Mm.
Rapzilla, CHH, artist, I hate you all. Like, I'm out. Peace. And I have this whole thing in my head of what I write, but I was like, nah, that's not the way to do it. I know you probably got something in your head just that you thought of, but what do you think about that sentiment that everybody like, they have to make this announcement on the way out?
I just don't think it's wise per se. Um, well, it depends. Everybody's situation is different. So I guess it really kind of depends on how entrenched you are in Christian music culture, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, if if you were super clean cut and didn't have any risque things in your music, and then all of a sudden you do an R&B album with curse words in it, and you know, talking about sex, it may be good for you to go ahead and make the leap, But
Yeah.
for most people, the idea of I'm leaving Christian rap is really just them saying I'm frustrated.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily leaving because to leave, you actually have to build an infrastructure somewhere else.
You have
And
to start over pretty much.
I've only seen a couple people do that. Obviously, Xavier Omar is probably the biggest example. No, NF would be the biggest example.
Right.
And then I'd say Xavier Omar would be the most like he'd be the second. So I think it's that, they both built ecosystems outside of Christian rap. But a lot of times you see people, I ain't no Christian rapper. And then next thing you know, they got What Up RG on their next single, and they just did a
Produced by Derek Minor.
produced by Derek Minor and did a spread on Rapzilla. It's like, I thought you was out of here, bro. What
You don't you
what
you don't know
happened?
how many artists I watch daily, daily. Yo, I ain't a Christian rapper, and then the next day, yo, God called me to speak to these people in the streets and lead them to Christ, and I'm just like,
What happened, bro?
who are you?
What happened, bro?
Yo,
You know,
I'm done with Christian hip hop, and then like 2 weeks later, yo, Justin, I got this new album dropping. You guys mind posting? And I'm like, wait a second,
man,
what?
most of the time it's just frustration, Justin. It's people, they're frustrated, but it takes a lot of, you got to be smart to be able to build a whole different ecosystem. And some people just don't have the tools to do that, or they don't have the network to do that. So, yeah, is what it is. I don't know about I don't think the big slamming the door on your way out. I don't think that. I'm not gonna say it. You don't have to do it because at the end of the day, everybody, or you don't need to do it because at the end of the day, everybody has their own life, their own career.
Yeah,
But I don't know how productive it is. Would be the best words. I don't really know how productive it is.
yeah, yeah. So, I mean, how do you think this younger generation of artists is doing, kind of navigating the space that we're in now? As somebody who's been around, you were kind of one of the trailblazers with the
Mm-hmm.
116 and Reach coming up, and
Mm-hmm.
now you have this whole new generation of artists kind of following after people like yourselves' footsteps, but through this chaos. How do you think they're doing, and what would be your words of encouragement towards them?
Oh man, they like this generation of artists is the most talented and most culturally relevant as far as like look and sound that I think just Christian music since its inception has ever experienced, except maybe when it first came out. But like far as hip hop is concerned, barring maybe gospel gangsters, they had a level of like relevancy. They was the only people I ever listened to prior to, when I started doing it. These guys are amazingly talented.
Mm-hmm.
Problem is they're killing it there, but they're awful at understanding movements and they're awful at understanding movements and awful at understanding how to actually build a business. Like
Yeah.
that's one thing I could say about Lecrae, my time at Reach. There was two things that made Reach extremely successful besides timing. The timing that's the number one thing. Like the
Yeah.
116 thing, just I'm sorry to tell y'all, will never happen again or it won't happen again for the foreseeable future
Yeah.
because of the timing. Like during that time, you have a group of young minorities, and you also have a huge push by the evangelical community to create multicultural churches. And then also you have the internet coming of age, so a new form of
Mm-hmm.
exposure. So you had the kids that was tired of going to the Christian bookstore. They wanted to get something that felt more authentic,
Right.
right? So there's this new thing of these young minorities that have this authentic sound. You have this huge push from the evangelical church to uplift minorities within the community. And then you had Lecrae and Ben Washer and other artists like myself that, I went to school for music business. Lecrae went to school for music business. Ben Washer's father is a businessman. Like we all like owning RMG, where we're at right now, this was a plan. This wasn't an accident. Like
Yeah.
I knew what I wanted to do the whole time, and I was putting business things in place, right? So that's the issue is for people that's trying to restart that. You gotta have the environment to do that. But on top of that, we understand movement. Like, so yeah, you go back and listen to some of those Christian raps we was making. They was corny as hell, bro. Like, it's no lie, man. Some of them songs was corny. But the thing that made them go was that everybody knew exactly what we stood for. So that allowed it allowed people to be able to attach to the movement if they wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
These kids are there's no movement. Like, where's things headed? Like, okay, yeah, you're cool, and yeah, you can rap. You just great. Welcome to 2020. Everybody at every high school can kind of rap. You know what I'm saying? Like if you got freaking YouTube, you can go download some beats. You got Splice, you can make beats. It's like, congrats, you're a good rapper. Now, what do you stand for? And because people don't want to make like the Christian tag, honestly, is what made 116 such a force, because it filled the gap of people wanting, you know, relevant Christian rap. Not and all love to Toby Mac, but they didn't want Toby Mac no more. They wanted regular rap. You know what I'm saying? And then also we got to get in these churches because they was like, we got to find some black people to bring in here so we don't look racist. Oh yeah, look, it's a bunch of rap dudes over there. We'll bring them in there and let them entertain our kids. Like, you know what I mean? Like there was this huge push. But now, right now, everything is the opposite. There's a push of separation. It's like, nah, like we not with that liberal agenda stuff. You know what I'm saying? In other words, saying black people matter is like a liberal agenda. So we're not with that. And then
Yeah.
the left or the liberal agenda is like, well, we don't want to be around people with Confederate flags no more. Now you got Confederate Jesus and you got the weird
Confederate
Jesus. You know
Jesus.
what I'm saying? Like you got that. Everything is separated out, right?
Yeah. I saw someone in the comments that said NF started all of that. I'm a Christian, not a Christian rapper thing. No, man,
False.
that's been around since like
False.
I've interviewed Stephen Wiley, the godfather of Christian rap. He started rapping in like 1984, 1985. That existed back then. This conversation has been happening a very, very long time. NF just has Spotify numbers. And the guys back then didn't. They had cassette tapes, so you wouldn't hear about it.
Yeah.
I remember even, I guess, before the 116 movement popped off, what you're talking about, and Tadashi telling me that, even in the beginning of his career, he was told, you can't perform in churches, or, you got to do that out back, or
Yeah.
you can only perform in the youth center.
Right. Absolutely.
You can't perform in the church. So that was even a few years probably before the whole 116 popped off. And I don't know if you have any experiences like that as well.
Oh man, bro, if I told you the level of racism I've experienced in this freaking Christian world, it'd blow your mind, bro. I remember one time I was at this tour. It's a huge tour. I'm not gonna put them out there like that. Huge band
Oh,
within the Christian community. And I'm going on stage, and it was a Q&A. It's probably 1,000 people there. And I saw like this little ice cream bar, and I was like, oh, this is dope. I'm gonna grab some ice cream. So I walk out on stage, and the guy says, yo, that's crazy. Where'd you get this ice cream from? And I was like, man, I just saw it on this ice cream bar. He was like, I didn't think you'd have ice cream. I could understand if it was fried chicken. And I was like, this is in front of 1,000 people in the Q&A. It was so embarrassing. I was so angry. I wanted to literally beat him up in front of all those people, but I couldn't because I was an opening act. Or there's one time I was in Texas at this church, and I had these youth pastors or whatever, and he's like, this man said, yeah, I just tore my Achilles. And I told him, I said, hey, man, yeah, I tore my
oh yeah.
Achilles. He said, oh, I understand. He's like, yeah, did they have to put cadaver tissue in you? I was like, oh, no, they didn't have to do that. They just used Teflon. So my man was like, man, I told them when I tore my ACL, hey, I have to use cadaver tissue. Can you make sure that it's a black man's cadaver so I can jump higher and run faster? Like, he's saying this to me. Like, bro, I was like, fam. But that's not even just to even talk about the where you're on a tour and you see a band that has less Twitter followers than you, sell less records than you, make double the amount of money you're making for putting on a worse show than you. But they're making double the amount of what you're making. You're more successful than them in every way, but they make double what you're making. Like, it's like, fam, bro, yeah, it's that kind of stuff is wild, fam. I mean, I could tell you so many stories, like so many stories. That's just they became commonplace. So that's why I wrote that thread. I was like, it's a wonder, especially consider the reason why I wrote that is because somebody was talking about it was a non-Christian. He was talking about Lecrae's fan base. He said, man, Lecrae's fan base don't deserve him. Like, they've been trashing this dude for years just for saying, black people matter. And, it's like, it was like literally that's the witness of the Christian church among, non-Christians is they're racist. A lot of white Christians are racist. So it's like, for me, I thought to myself, I'm like, on one of my posts, a dude called me a blackguard. He called me a spook. These are good Christian folk.
Yeah.
I've been called so many different names on my actual pages. And it's like, I thought to myself, I'm like, bro, it's a wonder any black rappers even stay here to serve the community. Because the moment that you start talking about, you mattering or people should care about black people getting killed by police, you get called racist names and all kind of craziness. So it's like, y'all should be happy. Like,
Yeah.
y'all should be happy because eventually what's going to happen is people just going to not make music no more for this community. And then now, people are like, man, I wish it was like 2010 Well, we could listen to those Jesus raps. Well, it's gonna be really, really bad when there ain't no raps, where everybody's just like, it's a rap. I'm not ever going to another one of these churches. I'm not ever gonna do this, that, and the third. If that happens, oh man, now you stuck with the electric acoustic guitars and sitting Indian style with no shoes on and flip flops. That's what you're gonna have. So like y'all better start treating these artists better and start advocating for their mental health. Because I'm telling you, after a while, people start saying, "What's the point?" You know, I just start thinking about that.
And you know what's crazy is it's like I could actually relate with you on that tip, even though I'm not an artist, but we're doing a Christian hip hop platform and we get the same sort of grief as the artists do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, yo, and you guys are magnified, you know, so much more than we deal with. And we all know that the Rapzilla comments are crazy.
Yeah.
You had to see when you know, mentioned Lecrae a bunch of times. You had to see when Lecrae was in here a couple of weeks ago, the comments that were coming in, and he was reading them. He was reading them out loud and picking certain people out to give attention to. But it's wild what people will actually say, sort of to your face. Like you can click on their page, you could see them, you could see their whole family, you could see what they do, and they'll still say it to you. It's insane.
Yeah, they don't care. They really don't care, and they care because if they seen you in the street, they wouldn't do that.
No.
But you know, you can hide behind that. I'm like, ain't nobody gonna really do that in real life. You feel me? They know, but but you know, yeah. I'm like, at some point in time, people just gonna be like, all right, forget it. And you know, I see my man V Squad saying, "Don't feed the trolls." But the issue is, some of them people ain't trolls. Some of them people is
Real.
legit. They legit
Most
people
are
that have,
legit.
yeah, they legit people that have those perspectives. You know, they legit have those perspectives. So it's not trolls. It's actual like people that's
They
like
believe
they
that.
believe that. Like it's in them. Because again, if you was on the earlier part of the conversation, I'm like, man, it was good Christian folk that was going to church on Sunday and then lynching black people Sunday evening, like building a bonfire. Like I heard a story about them. One of the most notorious lynchings that started the outlawing of lynchings was, I forgot, it was a mental ill brother, but that brother, he was mental ill. He couldn't protect himself. He couldn't talk. It wouldn't have mattered what they was gonna say anyway, but he couldn't really formulate his case. Bro, they literally cut his penis off, shoved it in his mouth, set him on fire, then hung him from a tree, and then dragged him through the city. And you know the picture where you see the guy hanging and it's a bunch of people there? That's the postcard. They made postcards of that night. Not only did they make postcards of that night, but it was city officials there, police officers, pastors, reporters, all enjoying this. Then they drug him through the city and body parts fell off of him. And people were keeping his body parts as souvenirs. Like a souvenir. These was good Christian folk. These was the hey, I'm standing up for God guys. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, to think that those perspectives have not been passed down, this is foolish. This is two generations. That's my grandmama's generation. Sometimes that's two generations. So the thing, and people think it's more innocent because these people aren't dressed like, you know, they're not dressed like old school. It's like they're wearing Stussy and Supreme and they're saying it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just different. It just looks different, but it's the same perspectives. It's just dressed up a little bit, you know?
Yeah, and that's the scary part, and I'll put it in quotes, of religion, because you have people who believe that they're hearing from God, or that it's their God-given duty to do these things, or God spoke to them. And when someone believes that God spoke to them, or this is what they should be doing for God, whether it's Christian, Muslim, whatever it is, you can't change their mind, right? Because if God is telling you to do something, I got to do it. And a lot of times God didn't actually tell you to do that, but you believe it. So who are you to go against God? Oh, I have to do this. Like,
But
this is
some
my
of these,
mission. I have to
but
let Derek know that he's living in sin when he comes on podcast and drops the N word. Like, and they believe that.
but here's the problem. Some of these people's God is white supremacy. It's not
Yeah.
the God of the Bible. It's not Yahweh. It's not Yeshua. It's not their God is white supremacy. Just like
Mm-hmm.
some people's God is money. Some people's God is it's not, if every time you open a Bible up, only thing that jumps out of the scriptures is money, then that means your God is money. If every time you jump out the Bible, all you see is white folks, and you see the Lord justifying white people with the Bible, then your God is white supremacy.
Mm-hmm.
That's what that is. Like, so, yeah, some of these people, God did tell them to say that to me because they follow a devil. They
Yeah.
read in the Bible, but they follow a demon. They follow their God, or their God is themselves, their flesh. Right? So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I totally believe some of these people, God, the Christian dude, good Christian folk who called me a blacker than a spook, I totally believe that his God told him to tell me that. If he was to say, God told me that. Because his God is white supremacy. That's his God. You know what I mean?
Somebody just commented, and some of them are watching too. I believe
Hey,
that.
holla at me. I'm here. I ain't scared of you. Like, that's the difference. You can't hold money over my head. I done found it too many other ways. So now I'm like, I don't even care. Like, I don't even care what you gonna do to me. You can't do nothing to me. So hey, whatever it is, holla at your boy. I'm here.
Well, with that, I'll open up. We'll take a couple, and I'll let you go, Derek. If anyone's got a question, please, pertaining to what we're talking about now, not how we can get Derek Miner as a feature or producer beats.
on
And I'm sure,
everything I love. If you post something like that in a convo like this, I never listen to your music. So
I already seen it twice. I've already seen it twice.
yeah, well they forever in my mind they forever don't even exist. Like I'm like, because first off, that just let me know you don't have a perspective to even be aware. So you don't even right now have the tools to even be an artist. Because one of the main perspectives an artist should have is awareness. Like so, like
Yeah.
just
And
gonna let you know right now, big dog.
what are our wants going forward to solve these issues we've spoken on? Do you get what that? You get what he's
Mm,
trying to say?
yeah,
Okay.
I think it's twofold. So actually threefold. The first is there has to be an overhaul or some sort of come to Jesus moment about the laws that are actually affecting Black people at this moment. Like there has to be an overhaul, and let's look at things and say, does this law is this law an inequitable law, right? Because there's a systemic issue here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we have to look that over and say, where are just like if you found out you had roaches in your house, the first step that has to happen is you got to look and say, how do we get rid of the roaches,
Yeah.
right? If you don't do that, it's literally you're in trouble, right? You're
Mm-hmm.
not gonna get rid of the roaches. One roach leads to more roaches, and then you back where you came from, right?
Mm-hmm.
After all the marching. Number two is economically in the Black community, there has to be a plan for how we're going to restore to Black people what was taken from them, in the sense that, due to redlining and discrimination, my family wasn't able to pass down generational wealth. So how do we do that? Or Black people built the White House. We built everything. Why in the world have we why should we something has to change in order to, and it's not necessarily one, it's due because we built this country for free. But then two, if we're like, how do we make things better within the Black community? This is a capitalistic society. You can't fix capitalism without capital, period. How that looks,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. If it's a fat check or if it's tax breaks or whatever, you can't fix capitalism without capital. So overlooking the system, injecting capital, And last but certainly not least is personal responsibility. Because the worst thing that could happen is in reparations, if every black person gets $300,000 and they blow $300,000 on something that doesn't matter, and then now you're right back in the same position. But now you can't. You have to say, "Hey, it's my fault. I'm here." Right?
You blew it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I blew it. So we don't want people to blow it. So that's the reason why I had to sit back and look and say, what do I want to do? I'm not a politician. I don't really enjoy politics, to be honest, contrary to popular belief. Um, when I look at the church, I don't see that as right now, the way that it looks at this present moment, I don't really see that as a strong vehicle. So for me, it's financial literacy. Financial literacy, Christian, non-Christian, whatever you are, you can understand financial literacy, right? So, because I don't want justice for just Christian black people. I want justice for all black people. So let's start with financial literacy first. Or let's get the financial literacy,
Mm-hmm.
personal responsibility. Look, don't buy no Jordans. You need to buy some property, you know what I mean? Or put some money in equities or something like that. So, yeah.
Yeah, and to reflect back about the black and white conversation, Derek actually talks about one of the questions was why do people and minorities go out and buy Jordans or go out and buy jewelry, but they don't have anything of their own? And Derek kind of breaks that down too, if you want to check that out. All right, Alan KBC, we'll do two more. Alan KBC, do you believe things will ever get to a point where we're good, or do we just got to keep fighting, hoping Jesus will come back?
The utopian perspective that Christians have is what limits their social impact. Because whenever, like, social justice is hard, it's dirty work, it's hard, and most people want to take the easier of the path. So
Mm-hmm.
for a lot of Christians, it's really easier to say, "Ah, man, I don't want this. Who cares about this world? There's a world coming where the Lord is going to make everything new, and this is a spiritual problem. We don't have to worry about this." But the problem is there's real people being affected right now. And the Lord gave us power to change real
Mm-hmm.
physical issues right now.
Yeah.
So my whole perspective in that sense is, man, nah, like get to it today. Get to it like yesterday. Um, uh, and when the Lord comes back, he may not come back in our time. Like,
Yeah.
so he may not come back for 3-4 more generations. So are we saying we just going to table this and just let 3-4 generations of black people just get smacked until the Lord comes? That's easy to do if you're a white person or you're a non-black person. Like, but for black people, that's hell. So you say we're going to have to go through hell for 3-4 more generations before the church step up and do something in the physical? Like, nah, I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. Like, I'm like, no, start now, start today. That's what I'm on. Like, and I'm gonna be found doing his work when he come back. So if the Lord come back tomorrow and I did my work, I can say, Lord, I gave it all I got.
Yeah.
I gave it all I got.
I think it's important to understand that the word good is also relative too. Like
For sure.
being good again, what does good look like? Like for you, you opened up saying, unfortunately, black people being killed, that was your normal. So what's good in that sense? A day where that doesn't happen, but there's still other issues going on.
For
So for
sure.
everybody, good is a relative term. So whatever your good is, it's going to be different for the next person.
Absolutely.
I feel like this is a good question to end the thing on from Mr. Cutright. Where is the line between ignorance and racist for many evangelicals who are ignorant due to community programming?
I think the line is the willingness to learn. An ignorant person that makes a mistake but has a heart of care is willing to say, "Oh, hold on, wait a minute, I'm wrong for that. Okay, educate me." Right? That's ignorance, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
like I'm ignorant about the experience of an immigrant Mexican person. I have no idea what it's like to try to cross the border.
Yeah.
And when they speak, If I'm talking and I'm saying I'm talking about that subject, if an immigrant Mexican person says, "Oh, wait, it's not like that at all," at that point I'm all ears
Yeah.
because I was ignorant, but I don't want to be ignorant anymore. It's not willful
You want to
ignorance.
learn.
I want to learn, right? So if a person, if now let's take that same situation and that person starts talking and I want to over talk them and say, no, I'm going to tell you what your experience is. And how dare you speak up to try to correct me on your experience. At that moment, I've crossed into willful ignorance, which is racism.
Mm-hmm.
Usually willful ignorance is usually a great sign of racism. It's because I don't want you to shift my paradigm. So therefore, I hold this paradigm with two tight fists. I don't want you to shape. I don't want you to shape my paradigm. I don't want you to tell me that what I believe is wrong. An
Yeah.
ignorant person is like, man, help me not be ignorant. It's not even really just about ignorance and racism. People have boiled down to say, and this is a soft way of trying to call people diet racist by saying, hey, you're not, they're not racist, they're just ignorant. No, like ignorance is not like racism is not a knowledge issue.
Yeah.
People that were hanging black people were well aware of what they were doing. Like they weren't, it wasn't a knowledge issue. They knew full well what they were doing. You know what I'm saying? And the
Mm-hmm.
thing is, it doesn't take a lot of reading in the Bible to know that you don't hang someone because they black. Like you could do a good skim of the scriptures and kind of get that. You don't even got to do a deep dive, right? So,
Yeah.
like for me, I'm like, nah, it's not an ignorance versus racism issue. It's a racism versus non-racist issue, right? And a non-racist person can say some things that are racist, but their heart will, you'll know their heart when they get corrected. What is their
Mm-hmm.
response to correction? Is it a rush to repentance, or is it a rush to fighting to keep holding
Keep
on
that
to that
point.
racist
Yeah.
thing? That's where you know.
All right. I think that's a good endpoint because that was an important talk. So, everybody, again, this was Community During Chaos. My name is Justin. This was Derek Miner. We were blessed tonight with Erinn Knight, Crum, and of course, Derek Miner, who him and I have amazing talks, and he probably is sick of having these long conversations with me. But someone's got to do
Nah,
it. Someone's got to do it.
I love talking to you, bro. I love talking to you.
I love talking to you, man. You help me get some of my best content because you're so smart and you're so
Uh,
willing to talk about it.
much respect.
You
Much
know,
respect.
and you always answer my text for the most part. I don't know why. You can ignore me every once in a while, but I
Nah, man.
understand you're super busy.
Because
But
I know
this
when
guy's
you
the real
text me, it's
deal.
gonna be funny. It's either gonna be, yo, look at this email I got, and there's somebody like just putting the YouTube link in in the subject line or something, or it's like, it's gonna be that, or some kind of drama from Christian rap. You call somebody out or something, and I know it's gonna be funny. It's gonna be
See,
entertaining, bro.
but that's a good relationship. I'm not just taking from you and trying to take your knowledge. I give you something to laugh about every once in a while too.
You
So that's why you
absolutely
keep
do.
coming. That's how I keep them coming back for more for these interviews.
Absolutely.
All right, bro.
Absolutely.
Well, I appreciate your time. Thank you for chatting with me. Now we don't have to do this for a while. I got no other content ideas that involve Derek Miner at the moment.
All right. I'm here. Holla at
If
me.
you have an idea, you let me know. But I
Say
think we're
less.
good for a while.
Say less.
All right,
All
bro.
right.
I'll
Much
talk to you
love.
later. Have a good
Yep.
night. All right, everybody. That was Miner. So everybody have a good night. Be safe out there. Wash your hands. Wear your mask. Say your prayers. Eat your vitamins. Hulk Hogan. And I will see you all next week. Peace.